The Rowdies are out of the playoffs. The Lightning are looking this way, but the Buccaneers can still win the division. You're in the lounge.
And now, you're tuned into Tampa Bay's RBLR Sports.
What is good, Tampa Bay? My name is Eureka Wheeler, and I am wearing my alarm clock jerseys because we took it almost too far back with the creamsicles. Okay, we went all the way back and played like we would played in the 70s. So I'm hoping, pushing it a little bit further with my. Plus, I think these are underrated, man. The numbers get a bad rap, but I love these. I love it. Shaking his head at me and wagging his finger apparently is Chris Glazier. What's good, brother?
Oh, man, those were not my favorite jerseys at all. I'm repping the Levante David today, going on the defensive side of the ball this beautiful Sunday morning here in Tampa Bay as the Bucs do get ready to take on the Falcons here in a big time division game. So I'm feeling good, man. Feeling good. How are you doing?
All things considered, last night was a bummer. My green and gold, I'm a big Rowdies guy. When we love it here, we've got so much love for the Rowdies at RBLR, and unfortunately, it was a heartbreaking loss to a team that had beaten us twice before. So we were hoping that things would be different. It also feels like maybe we'll talk about it a little later in the show, but it feels like an opportunity missed more than anything. But anyway, the Lightning aren't doing too much better right now. This week wasn't very happy to talk about them. I'm sure we'll get into all that, but the main event, I think what we should really get into is we're wearing all this gear. We're wearing all this stuff. Let's talk about today's game, and that is the Atlanta Falcons versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, this fight is for the top of the division. And the Buccaneers, although they did lose, they've lost to the Lions and they've lost to the Eagles. They've sort of put themselves at this kind of mid-tier where we're kind of better than the worst teams, but we're not as good as the top teams. So you were wearing the defensive jersey today. So I think that's a good place to start with this game. What do you think the Bucs have to do on defense to one, stop the Falcons from scoring a lot of points? Because I don't know if our offense will do that, but also just to kind of continue their good run of form lately.
Well, Atlanta's a big-time run team, right? I think they're 10th in the league in rushing yards per game, so they're going to run the ball, right? But the thing is Riddler has not had a bad season at all. He's kind of flying under the radar. He's thrown for, I think, over 300 yards in a couple games this season. Atlanta seems to be opening up their playbook as far as passing goes. So the Bucs are really going to have to. We saw a little bit, in the creamsicle game, the defense just giving up a lot of third down and longs, right? And that was probably because the defense was tired because the offense wasn't on the field, for a very long period of time. And that's what happens. So the defense today is going to have to blitz and we're going to have to bring pressure. I'd like to see more from the front four. Canty played his first game last week. He actually had a really good game, some good pressures. I expect him and Vea. I know Vea was a little injury prone this week with a foot injury, but I believe he's going to play today. So we'll have to monitor that a little bit, but just get pressure on Riddler and stop the run. The Bucs have not had the best rush defense this year. Usually we do. Usually we're top 5 in the league in rush defense. I expect a better performance today. I really do. I know I said this after the bye week, but Detroit's a good team, man. They're a Super Bowl contending team, and as are the Eagles, right? So you look at these two Bucs losses. We've lost to 2 top-tier teams in the league, right? The Bucs are an average team. That's just what we are this year. We're an average team. And there's nothing wrong with that. It happens. You're not always going to be good. You're not always going to be bad. The Bucs are just an average team this year. So we're doing average things, and we still have a shot at winning the division. So throwing in the towel right now is crazy to me because you win the division. What happens? The playoffs start, right? Then you get a home game, right? And anything's possible. That's plenty of time for this offense to get going, right? There's still a lot of things that we need to be learning here with this team and this offense and letting them settle in. But I think the defense today, it's going to be focused on stopping the run. Stop the run. Keep Bijan Robinson, who's a heck of a playmaker. They just want to get the ball in his hands. Robinson's going to make plays, right? So don't miss tackles. Make sure we're tackling well. Make sure we're pursuing the ball well. Like Ryan Neal against, the Lions gave up that big, huge bomb where he just needs to turn around and hit the ball. The defense secondary's got to play better. But I think as long as the offense is on the field longer and the defense is fresh, then we're going to be fine. And that's what's going to lead to the defense being able to get pressure and shut down the run today. So those are a couple keys I think the defense has to take care of today.
Yeah, I don't know how Atlanta's going to attack this particular defense because I don't think they come out throwing the ball all over the place because we can create turnovers. Like we actually can create on the pass rush, and we have good enough coverage. Because I would say, okay, maybe the secondary is the weakest point of the defense, but it's not like it's all just guys on islands and then you're one-on-one with receivers and then best man wins. That's not what's happening, because that would be an advantage to the offense. We are going to blitz. We are going to get in Riddler's face. We're going to do those things. So if he throws the ball 40 times, that's just open. I mean, he had 3 interceptions last week, right? So that I don't think is how they do it, but they probably won't be able to run on the defense either. I mean, all things considered, we give up, 83 yards on the ground. I mean, that's like on average. It's like, so you if you can establish the run against the Bucs, maybe that opens up something. But to me, this is the key to victory for the Buccaneers, is that the Atlanta offense shouldn't be able to throw for 300 yards. They shouldn't be able to run for 100 yards. We should be able to shut them down and keep this a very low scoring game, which is, we'll get into the offense, but that's how I see this game being winnable, is that the defense might have to create points, if not turnovers, that lead to points on short fields. I think that the injury report is one that's the lowest we've seen in a very long time. I mean, between Vita Vea and Anthony Nelson being questionable, there's no, I mean, I'm sure everyone's got bumps and bruises, but
for sure
it wasn't as bad as it was a couple weeks ago, and every week they're seemingly getting healthier. So with a full complement of weapons on defense, that is they are not a sit back and wait defense. They are a go get them, line in the dirt kind of thing. They want to get to Riddler, and you're going to see, if they win, they're going to be because they got tackles for loss. They weren't able to, the Atlanta wasn't able to establish any long running plays and things like that. So, because you do not want any kind of home run plays. I mean, if Atlanta is able to rack up points very quickly, and now we're at a 2-score disadvantage, this offense, I don't know if they have the firepower to score more than 3 or 4 touchdowns in a game. So this defense has to keep it a slugfest. They have to keep it almost like a blueprint of what we did against the Saints, right? We were able to, they weren't able to do much of anything. That's the kind of performance that we're going to need in this big game. It's kind of weird to say that in the middle of October we have a big game, but you said it best. This division, it's not very good, and we're an average team, but that's going to be good enough to win this division. Average is just going to be good, and who knows what happens in the tournament, but they can get there. That's a room full of professionals that knows that it is possible to, I don't know if they give out hardware or anything or like little awards for winning the division, but like that's something they can do. And staring them in the face is their kind of biggest threat in the Atlanta Falcons. So on the flip side too, now that I've kind of said my piece about the defense, look at Baker Mayfield. I think the guys on the RBLR Bucs show were having a pretty good discussion about this, where Baker Mayfield, with the Bucs going 3-1 through the bye week, it's like, wow, man. I think that we went on a seesaw of just love and respect for Baker Mayfield. Man, he's the perfect quarterback for us. He finally looks like he's having fun. It looks like he's enjoying the game and repping Tampa and doing all this stuff. And then getting mollywopped like we did against a legitimate contender, there was some vitriol against Baker Mayfield. Like, was Baker Mayfield the reason we lost that game and things like that. So it's this pendulum has now swung from like, oh my God, we love this guy, to, yeah, he always sucked and we knew he was going to suck. Where on that pendulum swing is the truth about Baker Mayfield? And I guess the next question would be like, with Baker Mayfield having to sort of bounce back, what does this offense need to do to ultimately win this game and take the division lead?
Well, first things first, the Falcons rank 4th against the pass, and they rank 10th against the rush. And this Bucs team has struggled really bad on offense to get things going. So that says to me this is probably going to be another low-scoring barn burner type of game where it's grinded out, right? The defense is probably going to have to force a turnover to for us to win this game, right? We're probably going to have a defensive touchdown in some way, shape, or form. So the offense today, man, it's I really wanted to get the run game going, but it just can't seem to get going at all, no matter what we do. And I think we ran the ball too much against Detroit. We were down early. Like at that point in time, it's like, all right, I know you got to keep them honest, right? You want to run the ball so you can set up your play action, set up your rollouts. But at some point, man, this offensive line has got to create some holes. And I know everyone wants to point fingers at Rashad White, and there's talks of bringing in Derrick Henry and trade talks, and I don't think any of that matters until we get an offensive line that can run block for us. Like that's where you got to start in the trenches. Those guys got to make holes for White to get through, and some of the run plays probably need to be called better. Yes, running between the tackles, the Bucs have not been really good at this year. So get the ball outside. I even talked about run some screens, man. Get that offensive line moving if you need to. You can even use a short swing route as a run play if you're not going to be able to run the ball to get you that 5-6 yards you might need. So it's 3rd and 2 and not 3rd and 10. 3rd and 2 and 3rd and 10 are two huge different things at the Bucs. It really affects us, man. Until this offense can get going, we got to start doing all those little things. And I was hoping for it after the bye week, but it was a tough matchup against Detroit, and Detroit unfortunately just took advantage of things, and the game was it was a bad game, right? So in this game, the offense has got to bounce back. I want to see a passing attack. I know the Falcons are 4th in the league, but get the ball to your best players. You got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. Palmer's been playing great when he gets the ball. Get Otten involved. Where's he been? Like, we have a tight end. Why are we not using him? Like, these things need to happen because, like I said, I know you can't give up on the run, but it's not working. It hasn't worked all year. We're dead last in the league. And this is for the division lead, right? Because we play Buffalo Thursday night, and in Buffalo on short rest, we have to win this game because then after that we're playing at Houston, and Houston has not looked bad this year either. So this game right here is a really, really big game because after this we're on the road twice. The offense has got to just show up, man. I was disappointed in the performance versus Detroit. I think all things kind of went wrong in that game, just kind of like how it went versus the Eagles. But it's got to be better play calling, man. If we can't run the ball, go shotgun, go hurry up, spread the ball out, get the ball to your best players. It's not that hard to do, right? You got Mike Evans. I know he's been dropping the ball, but you got to trust in Mike Evans that you just got to trust in Mike Evans, right? That's going to go away. He's going to catch the ball. He's going to be 1,000-yard receiver again this year. Like, get him the ball, get Godwin the ball, and get this offense going. I think we gotta pass today, man. I'm over the run. I'm always for the run, but it's just not working, right? So maybe some different play calls today, something like that.
We'll see. The big news this week out of practice was that Baker Mayfield accountability, I think, was the big word that people wanted to use. Baker Mayfield holding himself accountable, right? Right after the game, saying, I sucked, we sucked, we have to do better. And like I do squarely put a lot of the blame on Baker Mayfield for last week. He's not the one single reason they lost, but he has a chance in this game to be a difference maker. He is better than the other quarterback. He has, I think, better weapons at his disposal to score more than the points they've been scoring. And to me, 20 is my magic number. 20 is the magic number. The reason is the Falcons, that's the lowest amount of points that they've given up in 5 weeks is 20, the lowest amount. Okay. The Bucs, if they score 20, they've won the games this year. So it's like, if Baker Mayfield, which we only am asking average, he's playing above average football. And when he's doing that, the system is working. Godwin and Evans are eating. Guys are doing well. Baker Mayfield's going to have to play really well in the red zone today. I think that's the big thing that I'm looking for, because when Baker's just playing good enough or just better than average, we can move the chains, we can move the rock. And Atlanta, man, they're going to give up the opportunities. They are a bend but don't break style defense. And then I think that it's once you get in that red zone, now it's a nice compact area. It's going to be very hard to score. Your options become a little less limited. Your deep threats are no longer applicable. You have to get out of your tight end. You have to get good play. You have to be able to run for more than 4 yards a game or a rush in the red zone. So, with all that said, it's squarely first and foremost on Baker Mayfield being able to make the throws that he wasn't making last week. There were, unfortunately, a few the overthrows right at the fingertips of players. Every single game, it comes down to, well, if we did this, if this one or two things went better. And in a game like this, that is absolutely going to matter. So I'm less worried about those than I are the 3 or 4 times that Lions had the ball in their hands to make an interception and dropped it. And it's like, those are the plays that absolutely, like, just bad throws, underthrows, overthrows, putting the ball in the hands of corners, that the tipped interception wasn't his fault. I don't blame him for that one. And it was a good route. Evans was wide open. If they complete that pass, it's a good throw. It's a good choice. Just a lineman made a good play, tipped the ball.
Right.
It's the 3 other times that Baker Mayfield just threw a bad ball to a non-open receiver that was hoping and wishing that someone would win a battle on a one-on-one. That can't happen today. The other team's going to be giving us opportunities. That Ritter will turn over the ball. The defense will force a fumble, force an interception. They will be putting this offense in short field positions. And when they get into those short field positions, Baker Mayfield, first and foremost, has to be making good throws, has to be making good reads. And he took accountability for that. Full circle for what I started. He took accountability for that. He said he's been, the reports have been that he's been lighting people up in practice about, execution and all the little things. And that's encouraging, but you got to do it. You can say it, but you got to do it. And that's what they have the opportunity. This is it. And if they don't score 20 points, they will not win this game. So the running, I think that maybe Rachaad White has a breakout game, maybe, but we've been waiting. This line, I don't think is waiting. I think that some of the things you've been asking for over the last couple of weeks, a little higher intensity, higher tempo, using a little bit of play of a no huddle, little bit of these subtle tempo changes that when executed properly with a good average quarterback, I think they can put some points on the board today. So again, I'm waiting.
Tons of weapons. Use them. Use them. You got them. Use them. Right.
Chris, I lost you there for a second. So
use your tools you have. Use the tools you got. Right.
Come on, man.
Use what you have.
Yeah.
We got the big players. Use them. And Baker can throw a deep ball. Right. He can throw it almost 60, 70 yards in the air. We saw it against Palmer, just a little too far. So those things, that's like you said, those little details today, man. This is for the division, man. Like I said, this is a big game. I know it's just against Atlanta, but it's still a big game.
Yeah. Well, we talked offense, we talked defense. I think before we get into predictions, though, the Bucs are part of the next segment here, and that is our bet of the week. Chris, bring us through what you have on deck for us.
I'm going to start with the Lions here first at +3.5. This is going to be a tough game in Baltimore, but the Lions are just, to me, after watching them, I've watched a couple of games they've played this year. They just seem to be an all-around, really, really good football team, not taking anything away from the Ravens. I'm just taking the 3.5 here because even if Baltimore does win, I think it's close. I think the Lions do cover here. In my opinion, I think the Lions win. I think it's a close game, but man, Detroit's really good. Like I said, I'm not taking anything away from the Ravens, but until Detroit is stopped, man, this is a really good team right now. And then I'm rolling with their hometown boys, the Bucs, at -2.5. home here in Raymond James. Like I said, this is a big, big game, man. This is for the first place in the division. You know, like I said, we got short rest. Got to go play at Buffalo. Then we got to play Houston. We're not back home until I think November 9th or something like that. So this is a really, really big game. We need to show that we can compete and win the South, man. That's all you got to do, right? Win the division. We're an average team. We're not going to do anything crazy, but we can still win this division and get a home playoff spot, right? That's what matters at the end of the season is the Bucs winning this division and getting a home playoff spot. So I think they take it today in a very, very close game.
Well, with that said, I think it's time to do our predictions. So I think, well, you gave us a point spread. You're putting your money where your mouth is on this one. You're taking the Bucs as part of your bet of the week. So Chris, I guess it's nut cutting time, buddy. What's your prediction for this week against the Falcons?
I think it's going to be a close game. Vegas has us at 2.5-point favorites. So I got the Bucs winning this one 16-13. That's right. Buckle up. Until this offense can get going, I cannot predict anything higher, right? I need to see the offense today. The run game isn't working. Let's get some big explosive plays. Use your weapons, right? Like, I don't care if Atlanta's ranked 4th in the league in pass defense. The season's still early. Stats like that to me don't really mean much. It all depends on who they played as well. So we got the weapons. Use them, right? I took us last week in the upset. Unfortunately, we lost. I'm going again today. We're the favorites by 2.5 points. It's gonna be a close game, but it's for the division. I got 16-13, man. I want to see the Bucs win today. I'm really hyped for this game because the division games get you going, man. The blood's flowing, the juices are flowing. I want to see. At some point, we got to break out, right? Like the offense has to score at some point, right? So why not today? Like we have to score.
Has to be. And again, I said the number is 20. And I'm taking the dub 20-17.
Yeah, he's on the train.
Right. Let's go, baby. You know what? Like they've shown that they can beat this level of team. Guess what? They are right here. I mean, they could lose. It's a tight game. I think it's a 6-point difference. I do have us winning by 6, but again, these are the teams that we can shut down. These are the teams that don't have. I mean, Bijan Robinson is like their number one threat. Well, we that's not our weakness. Our stuffing the run isn't the problem that we have. Is Riddler going to be able to throw for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions? That's the question. And I don't think that will happen today, in my estimation. I think it's the other way around, that we shut them down on the run. We shut them down in the passing game, but they're going to score a couple touchdowns, a few field goals, whatever, however they get to 17. But it's going to be, can the Buccaneers 3 or 4 times reach pay dirt? Can they get two touchdowns and 2 field goals? Boom, there we go. Now, and then we we take the dub. We take the division in lead, and we move on to a tough game. Because at this point, I think, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, that's kind of what I said in the beginning, is like against Buffalo, Detroit, Philadelphia, it's a tough ask. Okay,
it's an upset, right? It's an upset. We
100% against our division, Carolina. We should be getting 2 wins against them. The Falcons, we should be getting 2 wins against them. We 100%. Already beat the Saints. We should get another one against them. So you kind of think division-wise, you get your 6 wins in your division, and then you scrape together like 8 and 9 probably wins this division, dude.
Yeah.
So we already beat the Vikings. You already pulled out the week 1 win, right? So it's like, with all that. We beat Chicago, right? But Chicago's a poor team. They suck, right? They're probably going to be the number 1 team in the draft. So it's like, you already scraped together 2 extra wins outside your division. Get it done against Carolina and Atlanta and New Orleans, and we probably are in the tournament
and get in.
So let's not poke a hole in our own tire by letting the Falcons come into Ray J, which they probably have a bunch of Falcon fans in the stands today. I don't know if you want to get into that, but like a lot of tickets available, a lot of blue in that stand last week.
Yeah, man.
At least the Falcons were red and black, so it won't be that noticeable.
Yeah, there's still a lot of tickets available on Ticketmaster currently. I think people think it's going to be the type of game we're talking about, a weird defensive. Until this offense can get going, man, God, that's the biggest thing, right? It's some point it's got to come, right? We've got to start scoring, right? We got to get touchdowns,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just win the division. That's it. Win the division. Let this offense cook a little bit. Get going. Hope we win the division. Get a playoff game here, and you never know.
Yeah, if they could just put 20 points before halftime and then kind of bend but don't break the rest of the way, and then
Fine with that.
let them get some stats in the second half, and then
Right.
what everyone's fantasy owners are happy, but they lose by 6. That's my perfect. It's my perfect Buccaneers day. Well, unfortunately, we'll take some medicine on the way out. We're very optimistic this week with the Bucs, but Chris, Lightning Man, the Vasilevsky injury, I think, has shown that this team is this is opinion, but I kind of think that the Lightning are built in a certain way where they're offensively overwhelming and their defense right now is lacking. Usually you'd have Andre Vasilevsky being the last line of defense, and he's only, the greatest goaltender of all time. So you could have lapses. You could, if you did give up turnovers, if you did give up breakaways, if you did do those things, you're maybe getting 1 or 2 past Vasilevsky. It's not that bad because you're going to score 3 or 4. Now we're in a position where even when we score 3 or 4 goals, we don't have the defense to eke out the win. That's just an opinion. Chris, am I off my rocker here, or what are you seeing right now with the Lightning over the last week?
Well, I think it's what I expected, right? Subpar 500 hockey. I don't think Johansson's played bad at all. He's actually filled in really well, if you ask me.
Agreed.
I mean, I think we're sitting fine right now. We're fine in the standings. It's so early. Like, I know everyone's freaking out last night. We blew the lead against Toronto, but Toronto's a top. Toronto's a top tier team, right? Like, we took them to overtime. Yeah, we probably should have closed that game out because it was 3-1. And I won't lie. Like, obviously the overtime losses have to improve. I believe that's 9 in a row overtime losses, if I'm not mistaken, right now. Okay. So 3-on-3 has to improve dramatically, because I will say that was awful last night. I mean, Toronto held the puck all of overtime, and when you do that, I mean, you're going to lose, right? Your team's going to be tired. They're going to get tons of high scoring chances, and those are things you really want to eliminate, especially in overtime on 3-on-3. So the 3-on-3 has to improve drastically. Cooper was interviewed about it last night, spoke a little bit about making some changes, but I think the Lightning are fine where we're at right now, right? Okay. We're hanging on. Nikita Kucherov looks amazing. Like, the things that he does when he shoots the puck are phenomenal, and I wish he would shoot more. There's a lot of Tampa fans that are always yelling at Cooch, shoot, stop passing. It doesn't need to be pretty. When you shoot, you score, right? Yeah. I know Cooch doesn't want to be selfish, but hey, man, it's okay to be selfish if you're winning games like that. No one's going to care. No one's going to care when you're having a hat trick and doing all these fun things and winning games, right? Everyone knows Cooch likes to pass the puck. He doesn't need to prove that. When he shoots, he scores, man. His wrist shot's good. He seems to be really healthy this year. He looks really, really rested, if you ask me. That's a good word for it. I think he's really rested after having all this time off from us not, being exited out in the first round last year. So I think we're fine, man. It's still early. We're gonna have some kinks.
Are you because you brought up a good point about Johansson and tip of my tongue here, but both of the guys who have had to fill in, look, they are who they are. We're giving up 4 goals or 5 goals or something like that, but some of those goals are not. They're being hung out to dry for some of these things. Plus, like, expectations aren't very high. To be honest with you, I think they're playing fine, just fine. Yeah. Not great, not bad. They're fine, right? To shout out Matt Gannon on the RBLR Lightning podcast. That's what he said this week. They're fine, right? But they brought up a good point that you have to then score goals. If you're going to give up 3 goals, in my opinion, then it's like, all right, well, then you kind of go balls to the wall to say we need to score 6. We got to score 6 a game to hopefully win most of those. But defensively, it's been my big key because we're losing these games. We're losing them overtime or by 1 goal. Other than the Senators, which one of those was an empty netter, I think. Other than that, that's the only. I mean, they've lost 4 out of 5, but it's all been 1 goal, sometimes overtime games.
We got a point last night, so that's what
Yeah,
matters. The point. It's early, so steal the point while you can, right?
You know, and I'm playing into a little bit, kind of being like, oh, because there is a narrative out there that people are very, very, very freaked out. Sorry to yell at my kid; he's trying to escape the house again today. But maybe talk to me about this defense. Why people are freaking out? People are going, and it is early, okay, and they're dealing with some things, but kind of what do you think some of us are freaking out the most about? And I mean, you kind of seem to be like, it's good, we're fine, we'll be all right, kind of thing. So talk me down off the ledge, man.
I think the concern here is the fact that the Lightning, even over the past couple years, have given up a lot of odd man rushes. I'm pretty sure we led the NHL, I'm sorry, last year, if I'm not mistaken, in odd man rushes. So, and it's happening again here and there, and I think that's just growing pains of the younger guys. I think Hedman's getting older. Obviously, he's aging. He doesn't look himself to me this year. Sergachev's made a lot of mistakes too, and that could just be rust, too much time off. I hate using that as an excuse, but Sergachev and Hedman are 2 talented defensemen. So it could just be new pairings as well. Like, I mean, Johansson's bailed us out of a couple games. The defense, yeah, they've been a little leaky, but I think it's too early in the season to judge all that yet, right? I like to get like 2 months in, and I know that seems like a while, but I think that's where you're at the point. What, you're almost a quarter way in, 3 months in, almost before the All-Star game type of thing, where it's like you can kind of see where you're kind of really sitting, and we're at 6 points, 2 back of first. Like, it's not a big deal to me right now. I guess it's once I saw Vasi was out, I knew things were going to be okay. It's going to be rough, right? We're going to struggle, but Johansson hasn't even looked bad. It's been the defense that looks bad, right, to everybody else, because Johansson's bailed us out of some games already. So I think it's just going to take some time. I think we got to be patient. We might see some line changes, Cooper making some moves here and there to switch things up. And I think once Hedman, hopefully, and Sergachev get going and get back in the groove of the season, the Lightning aren't a good team off rest. We always play better when it's a closer game, like a game apart, right? We play a game, then we have 4 days off. It seems to take them a while to get going, and I don't know why, but that's just how they are. That's just the style of play they use for whatever reason. So I think it's definitely not panic time. Definitely not right now. A couple games into the season, and we'll get Vasi back, and I think we'll see things change. Obviously, it might even take Vasi some time to get into NHL shape, right? I mean, as far as game speed goes, right? Like, he's going to be coming in in the middle of the season, quarter way of the season, depending on 8 to 10 weeks. So I think it's just don't panic time, right? It's early. I think the defense will get fixed. I still think we're definitely a playoff caliber team, especially when Vasi gets back, and we'll get things going. We'll be fine.
So I was going to ask you, because looking at the leaders that have been on the ice the most, I think Kucherov is someone that you would say is having a great season already so far, but guys like Sergachev, Radish, Chernak, and even Hedman are just kind of having so, if not kind of down seasons right now, and even Perbix. I mean, Perbix has had some ups and downs, but on average, it's been. I would maybe you'd rate that a down performance as well. Thankfully, though, the forward and all those guys are defenders, right? Other than Kucherov, but Point, Kuch, Sorelli, Hagel, Paul, these guys have sort of been able to make up in some instances for those kind of down defensive performances. And that's really where, like, if you look at some of the numbers and that's kind of where I'm coming from with this defense. Because to me, it's like hockey defense, though, is a team aspect. And I don't know if it's just they need to gel, like you're saying, take a couple months, figure it out. We'll see what happens. And that time frame is also when we'll probably have Andrei Vasilevsky back in. That'll be a huge boost to this team once it's like, hey, we got our Hall of Fame goaltender back. Then everyone will want to play. I mean, people are trying to play up for the guys that are filling in, and I know they're really trying their best, but I just don't know if there's a switch to flip or if it's just early days and young guys and whatever. But I don't have an answer for it. It's kind of the big glaring thing that I'm seeing so far. And if you can't win the season this early, but you definitely can put yourself out of contention. And we are winning some of these 1-goal games, but if that, unfortunately, right now we're not 4 out of 5. We've been losing, but if that trend continues before Vasilevsky gets back and we're just kind of falling down the division, it's going to take even more of an uphill battle once we get into the middle and ending of the seasons to kind of make a tough run to try to get I still don't think playoffs are out of the picture, but it's like if we don't turn something around to at least be going 500 in these 1-goal games, then we'll have bigger problems at the end of the season. But
it's important to kind of stay around where we're at right now, right? Get your points in overtime. I know last night sucked. Obviously, 2 points was ideal with us being up 3-1 with 8 minutes left, and it happens. But I will say that Braden Point so far has been really disappointing. You know, obviously 51 goals scored last year. Where's he at? What's he doing? What's going on? Like, is he not gelling? Like they're moving some of the lines around right now between him and 1 and 2. So
yeah,
I just, you know,
he's been creating though. I think. I mean,
he's a spark plug, so he's got to get going, especially on that power play. Kucherov seems to be taking all the shots on the power play along with Stammer when he's healthy on that wing. So Points that bumper right there in the playing in front of the goalie where he needs to take some shots. Points. We're talking about Braden Point here, so I hope it's just maybe a slow, rusty start for him as well. Maybe it's just taking time for some of these guys to get going. You know, maybe they're still in a little bit of summer mode. They had a lot of time off that they finally probably enjoyed. So, and it's early. Like I said, it's getting these lines together is going to be the key, right? We got to find lines that work well together. You got to put your guys that play well together and don't break them up. And right now, I think Cooper's getting a feeling for it, moving some stuff around. You know, doing what he can with what he's got. Right? You got to try things out now while it's still early in the season and we're missing Bassey right now, right? Because we know when Bassey comes back, our wins are going to go up, right? And Bassey also, he's a very good goalie when it comes to playing the puck. He will go out and play the puck very well. And that's a key because how many times do we see the stretch passes from a guy like Bassey from all the way down the ice to way up to Cooch, who's already on the blue line and he's skating in for a breakaway or a 2-on-1. So all those little things add up in hockey. So I think once we get Bassey back, this defense is going to settle in. You know, Cooper's a great coach. He'll figure it out. I have faith. And this team's doing a lot better than I thought we would right now, honestly. I thought might have one win right now without Bassey. I'm not going to lie. I was worried.
That's a surprising.
I was worried. I was.
Okay.
Not from the offensive
Now I see where you're coming from, man. Because you were like, okay, now I understand. If you were like, nah, dude, we're gonna suck, and then we're like, we're okay. Okay.
The offensive standpoint, remember what we said at the beginning of the season? I said we're going to have to outscore people to win these games without Bassey. But Johansson's kept us in games, and we haven't had to score a lot of goals. But then we're not scoring when we need to, type of thing. So we just got to get those things figured out. You know what I mean? So that when you're taking out a guy like Bassey, to me, that's your quarterback, right? Like that's like taking out Tom Brady almost to me. Like that it's different. But
this team, fortunately for us, has like 3 other Hall of Famers on it right now.
But and another thing too, we're the 3rd oldest team in the league, so we're not young anymore, man. We're getting up there in age, and that Hedman's not skating as much ice time. Guys like Sergachev are getting more ice time, but Sergachev's up and down. He has some really good games, and he does some dumb stuff, and you're like, come on, Sergey, we know what you're capable of. So I think it's just a matter of taking time. Get all this stuff settled in, keep this team healthy, right? We can't afford to really lose anybody else. You know, Hagel left the game a little bit last night. Stammer already had a little bit of an injury. Hopefully it's just short-term stuff, right? We don't want anything longer to happen, especially to our core veteran guys. So I think everyone just needs to just relax a little bit. We're fine. We're sitting in a good spot right now, and just hope we can hover around this 500, maybe a game or 2 over 3 if we can get there for lucky until we get Bassey back.
Yeah, unfortunately, the other team that I want to talk about, my green and gold, my boys, I love them. Unfortunately, the season is over, and it's this bittersweet thing that I really don't have the words for it right now to encapsulate exactly how you feel, because they were second in the division. They earned that. They earned it because they had just a season of turmoil, injuries. Like Chris, I don't know if I went through all of this with you, or if we've done it on the show yet. But okay, five different people at one point or the another assumed the head coaching role, whether through the coach got penalized. Like one guy, he got a red card suspension, so he couldn't coach the following game. Then our legendary head coach decided to get a job in England, so he left in the middle of the season. Then they went, as my buddy, hey, what's up, little buck? Wave, my little rowdy. Hello, there he is. Mwah. I love you, buddy. So, he wants to stick around on camera. He's camera shy now. So now you have your legendary coach that also built the Rowdies. He as the GM basically. So you get the guy who builds the team. Yeah, we miss him. He then gets a job in England, right? Moving up. So he goes. So then we spend 2 games with an interim coach. That's the goalkeeping coach. It's been around forever. It's just one of those things, because all the assistants left, with the head coach. So then you go out, they find a former player that played last year for us to come back and be the head coach. He becomes the full-time head coach for the rest of the season. And then a couple weeks after that, he gets a visa issue, has to go back to England. We lose him for 4 weeks, where another dude is coaching the team, and then that guy gets a yellow card suspension. So then, the 4th dude on the list of secession comes in and becomes the acting head coach. And that's not even to talk about all the injuries. You lost the reigning league MVP in preseason, that the whole kind of roster is sort of built around him and his playmaking ability. Well, you just don't have him, and you're told you will not have him the rest of the season. Then you're losing starting midfielders, starting defenders, and just throughout this whole year, there was one game that we fielded an 11 and only had 3 people on the bench, total. And one of them was a goalkeeper. So it's you only had 2 extra position players at one point. It was getting grim, dude. It was getting really bad. With all that said, they battled through coaching changes and injuries and bringing in a bunch of new guys and trying to gel them at the same time. After all that, they were second in the Eastern Conference. After all that, and they had a small chance to be the overall number 1 team in the playoffs in the last couple weeks of the season. So even after all that, they battled so much. There's so many instances of heroic performances and battling adversity, climbing that mountain, doing all those things that I am so proud of this team this year. But at the end of it, they end up losing in the first round last night to a team that had beat them twice before. That, to be honest with you, probably wasn't at the level of if we're just looking at talent at full strength, we beat them on paper, but we don't play the games on paper. And in the playoffs, look at the Rays. Anything happens in a short when it's win or go home. Sometimes you lose those games, and unfortunately, it just ended up where the gas wasn't in the tank, and the ability wasn't able to be summoned. And in front of a packed Al Lang last night, the fans always bring it out in St. Pete for the Rowdies. The players were, I got to talk to a number of the players after the game and talk to the head coach after the game. And, it's you're disappointed. But there was a little tinge of just how long could we have kept it up? And it's almost like they battled and battled and battled and battled, but just They wanted to throw the punch there. You're a boxer in the 12th round and you want to throw a left hook, you want to, and it's there, and you see the cheek is wide open on your opponent, but your muscles just won't get the punch up, and then you get knocked out. It's like, that's what it felt like, man. It's what it felt like. It felt like a great story season that just wasn't going to end up being a happy ending. So shout out to all the players and the coaches and front office that I know from covering this team every single week. We know how much they want and cared about, and it's a small, tight-knit, like, we're not talking 100 people don't work for the Rowdies, man. So it's like, it's a small, tight-knit group. They worked their butt off. They really, really tried, and they just couldn't pull it out. And unfortunately, this is now it's like a 5th straight season that they're good in the regular season, and then they can't quite get over the hump. They've been to the Eastern Conference a couple years in a row, went to the finals a couple years ago, and just unfortunately, it's another unhappy ending. So, Coach Nicky Law did kind of insinuate, and his contract is now up. They will probably be going on a head coaching search. He will be a candidate for that job. He mentioned in the post-game press conference that, maybe it is time for refreshing. It is time to kind of, we're going to have a new technical director. We're going to have a new head coach, or at least Nicky Law will get if he is brought back as the coach, it's now his first full off season to scout players and bring guys in that he's looking at. So with all that said, change is coming to St. Petersburg. And if this is the end of an era, it was a disappointing end to a overwhelmingly successful campaign. So anyway, shout that out, man.
Very
Chris,
well
I gotta
Very
get
well
you.
said.
I gotta get you out to a game, buddy. I
Very
think
well
you're gonna
said.
love it. But that's why I need these Bucs to win, buddy. I need these Bucs to win because the Rays got gut punched, the Rowdies got gut punched, and the Lightning are losing. I mean, yeah, like you're talking me back off the ledge on not being too freaked out about it right now. But so what does make you happy, Chris? If it ain't the Lightning, if it ain't well, I mean, you've been more optimistic than me this week. So with all that said, the last thing that we'll get into before we get out of here is, maybe wrestling made you happy this week, Chris? Who is your pro wrestler of the week?
I do enjoy some pro wrestling, some AEW Dynamite on Wednesday nights. So I got Juice Robinson this week.
Okay.
Won the Dynamite Battle Royal. I think he actually might have a chance of beating MJF legitimate this week and taking that ring off him with some interference from a certain Switchblade, maybe something along those lines.
Really?
We'll see. I kind of like the way the storyline's going so far, but I think Juice is great on the mic. Bullet Club Gold is gold right now. It's really working for AEW. I think they got great heel stuff going on with them and the Guns together. It's just a perfect combo. It's one of those heel factions that you're like, you want to hate them, but you can't, right? Because they're coming out being funny with the what is it? The cardboard cutout of
the card blade,
Jay
buddy.
White. Yeah,
buddy.
Card blade with the fake belt. So Juice Robinson, he didn't win clean, but that's what heels do, right? They don't win clean, and I think he's been getting a lot of TV time, lots of singles matches, and I've just enjoyed his character overall. Just kind of one of those wild guys that just seems to go out there, have a good time, but he's cool with whatever storyline he's in, right? He doesn't seem to bother him, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, what I'll say about Juice is what they've been able to do, because with the events of the world going on right now, they got a lot of flack for that quarters segment. And no matter how there was Juice Robinson has used rolls of quarters, even in New Japan, as a weapon. And I thought it was, of course, MJF approved. He probably came up with this idea with like, okay, you use the quarters with my story of being picked on as a Jewish kid. We can wrap this into some heat and do other things. That would have been fine. And I know it is a story they want to tell, but unfortunately, this was a story that went. It should have been nixed for that one timing. This was the time. It's like, hey guys, you're right. You're not wrong. Okay, but it's not the right thing to do right now.
Correct.
They have, and immediately the people just immediately were like, no, we don't want this. Please don't tell the story. And while there was pushback immediately from MJF himself, because again, I think he's the one who greenlit the idea. The whole point is probably his idea. But for them to turn that around immediately, not only just like, okay, we're never going to bring the quarters back up again, but now we're going to turn it into the ring, and now we're going to we're just going to step to the right a little bit to still tell the same story of bullies and things like that I want to get across. But be able to now the TJ Maxx ring, the crowd is chanting TJ Maxx, and like Juice Robinson is the one getting that over. And he was able to switch that from a bad situation to an even funny, like back to it's a sleazy, stupid heel thing. And it's exactly the kind of temperature that it should be, where, yeah, we want to see our hero, our scumbag, beat the hell out of Juice Robinson, who's a bully with a he keeps saying the word like completely wrong on purpose, like cubic zirconium, and like he keeps messing that up. It's so great. A buddy of mine really nailed it, because I wasn't getting Juice Robinson in the beginning. I was like, man, I like him in New Japan, but I just didn't get him as a character until he was like, no, man, Juice is the guy who knows he's not good enough to be in the main event. Like the character, right? The Juice Robinson character is latching himself on to Jay White, who is a bona fide championship guy.
Yeah.
And so he's one of these guys who's like, yeah, but if I can latch on to him, if I'll just do whatever this guy needs, like I will take the bullet, no pun intended, I will do all that stuff. I will be the lackey, basically, because then I get to hang around. I get to be in the limo. I get to hang out with the cool kids. I get to do all that. Then it made complete sense. And I'm like, oh my God, yeah. And Jay White on the flip side, it's like Jay White is using Juice Robinson. He's using a guy like that, be like, you want to hang around, you want to be with the cool kids, I can utilize that as a weapon. So it's working for me, and I think it's a great pick, Chris. I think that's a great pick for Pro Wrestler of the Week. I'll switch gears. My Pro Wrestler of the Week isn't necessarily because of there were a ton of dude, like last night, Danielson and Andrade, while they didn't really kick it into full gear, they have more story to tell. You saw that. You had Kyle Fletcher. Hold on, my kid is even having fun with that. Kyle Fletcher and Kenny Omega had a great week. It was a great time. But my pick is the Icon Sting. Sting made huge news when he get in the ring and he announces that Revolution will be his last match. Now he's 65 years old, buddy. So but he had his run, and I think it is the right move to come out and say there's a finish line. Here it is. Now we can. Every appearance that he has is now important. It's the last time he will be in this city. It's the last time he'll face this person. It's the last time, so on and so forth. So we can kind of give him his flowers on the way out. Kind of like in baseball, you tell, hey, I'm retiring at the end of the year. Every city around the world says, hey, thank you for playing us over 20 years. Here's a guitar in Cleveland, or, whatever, you get some cool stuff as you go. Sting, I think, legitimately is, I put the icon down there. It's kind of funny, but like he's done so much for AEW and to give them a legitimacy and to write his own story, to be able to write the final chapter of his own story. You and I watched him jump off a balcony in Orlando.
Yeah.
Buddy,
60.
He's going out on his own terms.
Yep.
He's going out the way he wants to. He's pulling new tricks out of the bag that we did not know he possessed. And so he's killing it as a performer and as a backstage influence, as a mentor. And ultimately, you would think Darby is somehow involved with his final match, if not being his final match. Like I could see Sting saying, there's only one more lesson I have to teach you, and that's, you got to put me out of my misery.
Right.
Like, this is it.
He's going down in his terms for sure. You know what I mean?
I think there's a poetic thing, because you could break the fourth wall. Like, you're supposed to go out on your back kind of thing is the way
Right.
that you're supposed to, you're supposed to lose your last match and, look up at the lights and put someone else over. Right. Like especially the people that are really into this, they know that that's how it goes. You can make that a story where you're like, Darby, buddy, we've been peers. This hasn't been like, we've been equals. We've always treated each other. I've treated you as an equal. Now I need to treat you. You need to treat me like you're beyond me. You're better than me. You need to put me down. And if you can't do that, what's that say about your future, right? You can't beat a guy who's on the way out, Yeah, there's something like that. I don't know. There's some story in there. I think at first, though, they're going to team him with Copeland. I think that's the good way to do that. Copeland kind of showed up and said, hey, I want to be with my buddy. His buddy told him, GFY. So now he gets to maybe play with Sting for a little bit. Sting, Darby, and Copeland versus, whoever they're putting in front of him. Get to do that for one match and then move Sting on to something else. Are there any, other than Darby Allin, are there any other stories or any other kind of people you'd want to see interact with Sting before he finally goes?
Man,
I'm putting you on the spot. We didn't.
No, I feel like the Darby Allin match has to happen because I've been talking about it since he joined. I was kind of just waiting for it, and it hasn't happened because obviously Sting's not always on TV and he's not always going to be there, right? Yeah. So I feel like that has to be the match that it's like.
And that's in Revolution's like March.
I think it's February.
March,
end of February, somewhere in there. Yeah. So that would make me think Sting probably has two matches, right? Full Gear and Revolution, probably 2 matches left. I would think. Okay. I don't think he fights on Dynamite. I'd be surprised. I would think he has 2 matches left in him because he's giving you that timetable. And I would think, like you said, maybe he does team with, because he did, Adam Copeland and him did shake hands. So maybe something does come from there, and maybe they do get a tag match versus Christian and, Luchasaurus.
You could have Luchasaurus and Wayne and Cage versus the 3 of them. Yeah.
Yeah, because then Sting could come in for the hot tag at the end for 2 minutes and do his splashes and a couple moves, and Edge and Darby will, be in the ring most of the time. But I could see that.
Yeah. So, an end of an era. Now he's been shouting out some dudes. He wanted to put the Nature Boy over a little bit. I don't know if AEW's that cool with Ric Flair to the point, because they've definitely had an opportunity to use Ric Flair. They have his son-in-law on television, right, most weeks on Saturdays. I just don't know if because it's been said Ric Flair's the guy who put him on the map in the 80s, right? He said it himself in the promo. Is it a fitting tribute to maybe have Rick either sitting in the front row or, like, I'm not saying get physical, like that right, I don't want that. Yeah. But like walk him down the aisle, be in his corner, like for the last match. There's got to be. I think Sting really wants to put Rick, like he owes so much to Ric Flair. He thinks, I think after 40 years or whatever his career has been, that Rick's been there and was always there and put him over. That I think he wants to at least give that back to Nature Boy one more time while he still can, and you're in the position that you can. I definitely don't want to see him get in the ring and take a bump or do whatever, but I think it'd be fitting if he was like in the front row or at ringside or some form of fashion involved. I don't know what the politics is going to be to get that going, but we've talked Lightning, we've talked Rowdies, we've talked pro wrestling, and we've talked our Buccaneers, who we really, really, really hope can take the reins, score some points, and take the division lead, baby. So
do something.
With all that said, any final words before we dip here, Mr. Glazier?
Big game today, I must say. I know I say that every Sunday, but this is a really, really big game. Gotta got to beat the Falcons today, man. Take first place in the division, and let's get this offense going, right? Run game ain't working. Pass the ball. Throw it to your best players. Get the ball to your best players. That is how you will win the game today. So looking forward to that game. Lightning season just started, like I said. I'm buckled up. I'm ready for that. So other than that, that's all I got for today.
All right. Well, there's only one more thing to say. Hit that subscribe button. Join the hundreds of people that are on YouTube, the thousands and thousands of people that follow us on all our other forms of social media. We're at RBLR Sports. We're everywhere. For Chris Glazier, rocking that defense. For my alarm clock jersey. Let's go get this. Let's get the dub. We'll see you later, guys. Peace.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.